If you are struggling trying to get your kick and bass to sound punchy and still have a big full sound, then this is the video for you. I'm gonna share with you a trick that I've developed to make my kick drums always cut through a really dense mix. Now you might have heard of sidechain compression, but this is taking it to a whole nother level. In this video, I'm gonna teach you how to hear and dial in sidechain compression, and then we're gonna put a little twist on it so that you can get super surgical with it. Now, as a thank you for you spending your time with me today, I have a free gift for you. In the description is a link to download my Compression 101 ebook. This guide includes everything about compression, including how to hear it and dial it in perfectly for your song. So I just have the drums and bass soloed here just so we can hear what it sounds like without any sidechain compression. You hear that the bass is very prominent. The kick drum also is really punchy and subby, but I feel like there's not a ton of definition on the kick drum, right? There's a really awesome plugin by my buddy, the Him DSP. It's called Sub Ninja. This allows you to see what is happening in your mix in the sub frequencies. And this is gonna be a great visual tool for us to deep dive into what is going on between the kick and bass. So quick crash course into what we're looking at with this plugin. This bottom track is set up for basically all the output audio that we're listening to. So this is the kick plus the bass. This top portion is all the frequencies below what we defined. I like having it set to about maybe 90 if I'm trying to dial in kick and bass, because it's really easy to see where the kick drum is and then where the bass guitar is, right? The bass is gonna be these repeating notes and the kick drum is gonna be the transient or spiky things that we see here. So we know exactly what is going on in the sub of our song, even if we can't hear it. So when you are lacking the definition between the kick and the bass, it means that you don't have enough crest factor. Crest factor is just the difference between the highest, spikiest transient and then the meat of that audio. The crest factor here, if we look at just 90 hertz and below, is the difference between this top part here and this meat of the bass guitar here, okay? So we wanna increase the difference between this top part and this part. This is where sidechain compression is our friend. What sidechain compression does is it listens for the kick drum, and when the kick drum hits, we compress the bass guitar. And then when the kick drum is done, it brings the bass back. So it's like an automatic volume automation for our song. And we can actually visualize exactly what happens with sidechain compression using Sub Ninja. So really quickly, I just wanna set up a sidechain on our bass guitar. So we're gonna go to our bass bus and we're gonna put Wave C1 compressor because I have it. You can use any compressor that allows a sidechain input. So to set this up, you have to enable sidechain. So in Cubase, there's this little button, and then we have to send the kick drum signal to the sidechain. So what that does is it tells the compressor, hey, don't listen to the bass signal, because that's normally what it would listen to because it's on the bass bus. We tell it, hey, only listen to the kick drum signal. So it's gonna respond to the kick drum as the input and then compress the bass guitar. If I hit play, you can see this is reacting only to the kick drum. So I'm just gonna loop this one bar segment here, and then I'm gonna adjust the attack and release here, and then we're gonna see what happens to the sub frequencies in Sub Ninja as we change the settings of our sidechain compressor so we can identify the sweet spot. So you'll see as I make this longer and longer, we're gonna get a bigger difference between that spiky top part and then the meat of that bass note. Here we go. You see how it's going smaller here? And if we want less of that effect, we just reduce the ratio. And then if we bypass it completely, you can see we have about this much crest factor, okay? Let's dial in a nice amount so that we can get some differentiation between that kick drum hit and then that meat. Okay, that's gonna allow the kick drum to fully bloom so that we get the maximum impact. As I make this release too long, you hear that the bass kind of comes and goes, and it sounds really strange, right? We're like losing all the power of the bass. That's how you know that your release is too long. So in this case, I feel like we also need to adjust the threshold. The reason for that is I want the ducking to be a little bit softer. That's sounding pretty good to me. Another thing you can do is, if you know the tempo of the song, you can calculate how long like a 8th or 16th note of that beat is. What that's gonna do is make it a little bit more rhythmic, okay? So it'll actually be breathing with the song. I tend to like to sync my release times to the tempo for that very reason. So that is what sidechain compression sounds like when you have just a compressor on it. We definitely gained a lot of impact back on that kick drum, but what I don't really love is that it just feels like the bass guitar isn't present all the time. There's this like kind of overwhelming movement on the low end that works really, really well for like dance music and EDM, but it doesn't necessarily always work for rock or metal. Okay, so I have a trick. So instead of using a compressor to do it, let's focus on adding the impact in the subregion by using a multi-band compressor. So in this case, I'm gonna use wave C6. I have all the middle bands bypassed, and then I have just 2 bands activated, these 2 external ones. That allows us to kind of center the frequency anywhere we want. And I'm gonna put it right at like 70 hertz, because that's usually where a lot of the power and sub energy of the kick drum is. And then another one about an octave above, so about 150 hertz. An octave above just means like double the frequency. So at 150, that's gonna be like that initial punch and more of like the basketball kind of thump sound. The 70 hertz is that bloom, the deep sub bass that you're gonna hear and feel like at a live concert. So again, we're gonna set this up in sidechain. And now, when we send the kick drum to this, we're gonna focus on this sub-region, which is gonna let all the other frequencies of the bass guitar go through. So it's gonna reduce that movement that we're hearing when you just use a compressor. So let's get rid of that compressor. Let's activate this bad boy. Awesome. And if we look, without this compressor on, you can see our crest factor, okay? And then when I turn it on, we have a lot more impact, right? The bass feels a lot cleaner. I still think this is maybe a little bit too aggressive because we lost some of the power of the bass, but it's in a much, much better position now because only the lowest frequencies are being attenuated and we can still hear the bass guitar. It doesn't feel like the bass guitar is moving in and out. It just sounds a little bit quieter, right? Let's go back to the compressor. Right? Like that almost gets you seasick. Let's go back to this one. It's just so much cleaner and better for rock and metal to do it this way than to use a standard compressor, right? The bass stays present. We hear it in the mix. It's just the low frequencies that are getting tucked away so that we can let our kick drum bloom. Beautiful. All right, let's check it out before and after. And I'm gonna quickly gain match this so that we don't fool our ears. Now I want you to focus on the deepest sub frequencies that we're gonna hear, okay? Listen and feel for the kick drum. Listen to that really deep punch, feeling the impact of that kick drum. It's gonna be like night and day. You get something for free and you don't have to pay any penalties. It's great. Check this out. What's crazy is it's like the bass is almost louder with this sidechain compressor on, and you get more impact on the kick drum. Now, if you're having trouble hearing that, I would suggest trying to put on a pair of headphones. Headphones tend to do a better job with these really deep sub frequencies than studio monitors, especially if you don't have a subwoofer. And I wanted to mention that before I get a bunch of people going in the comments and being like, yo, Bobby, I can't hear anything. try it on headphones. So tell me what you thought. Did you find this eye-opening? This is a trick I've been using maybe the last 2 or 3 years, and I think it made a huge difference in the tightness of my mixes. Give this a shot. Try this in your next mix. Come back here and let me know what you thought. And if you do this a different way, if there's some magical plugin that I don't know about, let me know in the comments as well. I want to remind you I have that free downloadable Compression 101 ebook in the description. That is yours for the taking. Go and grab that if you want to do a little bit deeper dive in compression and learning how to dial it in for any instrument. It feels so good to be back on YouTube. Thank you for your time and attention today. My name is Bobby Balo. I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Raytown Productions, and I'll see you in the next video.